Basically, let me just repeat the question so everyone hears it. Some people say that, okay, blind faith, on purpose I don't use blind faith because faith is not blind. I said a leap in faith. A leap in faith. So faith is not blind. Real faith is not blind. So somebody might say, okay, there's blind faith. Just put your trust in Allah and jump off that tower and just Allah is going to save you. You will be saved. Okay? The thing is, if you truly reach a level of certainty, which most people are unable to, and you do that, nothing would happen to you. I know this doesn't make sense in the physical world, but this actually happened in the history of Islam. And we Muslims are not supposed to do it. You're not supposed to do it. But what I'm saying, in cases it happens. Khalid ibn al-Walid, radiyallahu anhu, when they dealt with the Rum, and there was a discussion between him and the leader of the Rum, the Byzantines, and he said basically about belief in Allah, and you guys said if you put your trust in Allah, nothing's going to happen. And so he said if that's true, and this was a position where everyone was watching, and there was an opportunity for the Byzantines to really embrace Islam. So he said, if you truly show me how your trust in Allah will save you, if you consume this poison, then we would believe in you. Everyone agreed. Khalid ibn Walid drank that poison. Nothing happened to him. Are we supposed to do this? No. We're not supposed to do this. But unless you have a faith like Khalid ibn Walid. Yeah. So what we're saying, Islam doesn't invite us at all to do anything that's detrimental to our health, physically, mentally, emotionally, at all. But if humans are able to tap into their spiritual side, to the point, by the way, faith is not blind, the mind is blind. Faith is a function of the heart, not the mind. It's a function of the heart. And we know Allah in our hearts. But the problem with people who really question faith is they want mental conviction. They want to see a proof. They want to see Allah. That's the only way they can believe in Allah. But that's not faith. That's not faith. That's intellectualism. Faith is a function of the heart. And the heart is a completely different sense. Is the heart more certain than the mind of Allah? Yes. Why? Because the heart knows Allah. This is why when the prophets were sent, in Surah Ibrahim, when the prophets were sent to their people, and the people challenged them, the prophets were, أَفِي shak? Is there a doubt that Allah is there? Like, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So, if humans were, if they give themselves the opportunity to look into their hearts and investigate what's in their hearts, they would know for sure and with certainty that Allah is there and He deserves our worship more than I know that this is in front of me. Spiritual knowledge is much more powerful than mental knowledge. But we don't give ourselves that opportunity to tap into that side of who we are. If humans allow themselves to really figure out their hearts, you would have certain knowledge of Allah that's more certain than things you see and things you touch. And I'll give you scientific facts to show you that what we know with our mind is actually might not be true. Might not be true. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He says, وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ, this life is only an enjoyment, a mirage. It's an imaginary mirage. In the last 100 years, quantum physics or quantum mechanics has developed big time. So I'm just want to quote one of the pioneers in quantum physics, Max Planck, who was a contemporary of Einstein and Bohr and all these founders of the quantum mechanics. When he was nominated for the Nobel Prize, and he actually received it, in that ceremony in Stockholm, in Sweden, he made a speech and he said, as someone who has devoted his life completely for hard-headed science, for facts, for physical facts, I can say with conviction that there is no matter as such. The world as we know it is not made of matter. So in quantum mechanics, really, they say there's no matter. And if you delve deep into, this is made of molecules, right? Molecules are made of atoms. We all know the atoms. They dig deep down, try to find out what the atoms are made of. They're made of subatomic particles. So most of the atom is space. Most of it is space. There's nothing. Literally, it's space. So what about the subatomic particles that seem to be the physical parts? These are the basic physical parts. What are they? Subatomic. Neutrons, electrons, protons. Okay? So they try to figure out, go deep down and see what these are made of. So when they, with these quantum microscopes, where they could actually, see into these small level, tiny, unimaginable tiny level, they figured out electrons. When they tried to figure out electrons, there's nothing. So they figured out there's something called quarks. Quarks. These are the basic material of electrons and neutrons and all subatomic particles. So when they tried to find out these quarks, they couldn't find them. It's called string theory in quantum mechanics. They couldn't find them. So they figured out what these quarks are made of. They call strings. These are energy. And it's not energy that you can actually define or locate. It's potential energy. So they ended up, there's no material, there's no matter. This is why there are some scientific theories that come from this. So there is like the multiverse theory as to explain reality at a quantum level, and there is one of the theories that says the world is a hologram. What's a hologram? Hologram is a replica of reality. It's just it's like you can replicate three-dimension person. It's only an image, but three-dimensional image. And it sounds so real. So they say we live in a physical hologram, that even our sense of touch is part of a hologram. So, but in reality, there's nothing. It's scary. But that's basically what we know, what we're so sure about, that what we can feel and touch and see is not what it seems to be to us. So this is why there is a... So there's a theory actually in cognitive psychology, and that's very interesting. There's a guy, he's still alive. Let me just finish this and I'll get to your question. He says, basically things are not what they seem to be. So he has a theory, he calls it the interface theory. He basically says, like your desktop, he says when you see, for example, what is the bin where you trash your recycle bin? He says it looks like a bin there, and it's somewhere on your desktop. He says, does it really look like this? No, it doesn't look anything like it. It's all numbers and digits, right? 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. And it's not even there. It's in your motherboard. But he says it's a convenient way to put it. When you drag an item and place it in your recycle bin, it's not actually this distance. There's a completely different process behind it, but it's just very convenient. It makes sense. He says the world that we live in is just the way we see it is just a convenient way to deal with it, but it's not reality. It's scary. So what I'm saying is that even what we know at an intellectual level with our senses is not actually as it seems to be. So what we seem to be sure of, actually we shouldn't be so sure of. But we're so much trapped in our senses. But the reality is, what our hearts know is much more powerful and profound than we could possibly know with our minds. But we don't give our hearts a fair chance to really figure out what we know. So I'm done. That's it. What was your second?
They call it God particle.
You call it what?
God particle.
God party? God pardon? Particle. The God particle. Okay, they're trying to figure out this kind of, at the subatomic level, the God particle.
This concept you touch.
Yeah.
There is no material.
Yeah.
Right? So it is totally against like Islam.
No.
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 What do you think?
No, in Islam we live in a physical world and we relate to it in a physical sense. We just go about this world this way. But the thing is, we realize there's alam al-shahada, the world of the seen, wa alam al-ghayb, the world of the unseen. So we use our mind to relate to the seen world. So don't jump off a cliff and say there's no real world, you're going to die. Don't do that. Don't drink poison, you're going to die. Live in this real world. But you have to recognize there's an unseen world that my five senses cannot comprehend. The only way to connect to it is through my heart. The only thing I can know about it is through revelation, what Allah told us in the Quran and the Sunnah. And that's it.